Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another game theory reaction, and, well, this video is going to be a little different. Today's video is, the internet is dead. Oh, joy, if enough things weren't dead already. But yeah, I, literally top comment at the time of me recording, instead of Matt chats, we now have Tom talks, so, yeah. And I'm fairly certain I know what this video is actually going to be about, and it's the fact, algorithms, at least for me, the biggest one I've kind of noticed is, the YouTube algorithm having changed. Now, you've probably heard it from, many other YouTubers, but basically, views across YouTube are, down basically across the entire board. And actually, just earlier today, I saw another video from another YouTuber called Josh Strife Hayes. He's a very good YouTuber. Usually makes videos reviewing MMOs and stuff like that. I honestly haven't watched his videos in a while, but I remember really liking his stuff. Just earlier today, he put out a video called Proof YouTube Changed How Views Work. And over the video, he talks about on his channel specifically, you look and there's a specific dip. If you sort by what devices are giving you views, they've actually desktop views have gone down. Now, looking around, I've heard a couple people speculating that this might be because YouTube is might have implemented something new where if you have ad block in, it doesn't count the view when you're watching the video or something like that. And I would believe that if it wasn't for the fact that, for me, it's not desktop views that have gone down, it's mobile views that have gone down. And they've gone down by a lot. So honestly, YouTube has done something to the algorithm, and I don't like it. Now, that being said, there is also, the little blurb beneath the video here talking about dead internet theory, which, God, with all the AI slop being pumped out nowadays, yeah, I could definitely believe that. But yeah, honestly, I know a lot of stuff is going around, happening in the world right now. Things are getting tense, unfortunately. So yeah, let's actually get into this video and see what Tom is actually going to be talking about. So, yeah, we should probably get this thing started. So, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my film theory reaction. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel. Because over 3/4 of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change because my next big goal is hopefully it's 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
The internet is dead. Or at least the internet we know today could be very soon. Hello internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where today I'm here on the couch because we have to have a serious talk. I was hoping to get a year or two more under my belt before we did one of these, but alas, here we are. You see, we're slowly coming up to the end of the year, and with it, potentially, the end of the YouTube we've known for so long. And no, it's not because profiles and comments are mostly bots. It's actually because of a different kind of bot. AI. Don't worry, this isn't another AI video. Lee did a fantastic job explaining the AI issue in media over on Film Theory a few months ago, and I highly recommend you watch it. Instead, this video is focusing on an AI-adjacent issue that I'm sure you've probably seen other creators talking about. YouTube's new AI age verification system.
Oh, God,
a system that is designed to determine whether a user is under the age of 18 in order to protect children online. As soon as I heard the news about this back in July, I knew it was something we needed to talk about, much like we've done many times in the past. But I also wanted to see some of the initial data to make sure we all had a better understanding of what's really going on after it went into effect on August 13th. And from what I can tell, while long-term there probably will be some positive effects, in the immediate, it's going to not only change your right to privacy, which is obviously bad, but it is going to change how this platform works, including which of your favorite creators are going to be around a year from now. To some of you, I'm sure this will sound familiar. In 2019, Matt did a whole video on copper and how the FTC was cracking down on companies like YouTube to make the platform safe for kids. And despite the fear of what it was going to do to the platform, most of us are still here. Surely this will just be the same situation again. We're all scared now, but give it a few months and we'll all be back to normal. Honestly, I pray that is the case. I don't want to be a doomer about this, and I would like my friends and I to still have jobs at the end of this. But the truth is, this time is different. With copper, the power was put into the hands of the creators, but now the power is in the hands of the platform and third-party businesses. That is a scary place to be for both creators, but also for viewers like you. So we need to be aware of exactly what is going on, and we need to start talking about it.
Honestly, you know what? Okay, actually, wait. Couple of things I probably should just say. Right now, there is one thing that I think that was going around. If you're watching this on, like, you know, YouTube, and I don't know how to access it on mobile, but if you're watching this on desktop, then if you go to your like channel icon in the top right of the page and you click on it, go down and check to make sure that restricted mode is off. Because if it's on, then it restricts, you know, your browser and stuff like that, and what videos are shown to people. Second, I think it was on like one of those narrated like Tumblr posts or something, but like they were talking about how like the internet is being both made like anti-kid and anti-adult at the same time, where like it's being made, it's basically anti-kid because, you know, advertisers, you know, don't want to show ads to kids because you know, they get less bang for their buck for the advertisements. So, you know, websites and stuff are less likely to do stuff for kids. But it's also being made less adult friendly because seemingly every website is also simultaneously like trying to be safe for kids at the same time, while being safe for kids makes them less likely to have ads. It's like it's this weird cycle where like the snake is eating its own tail. It's like it's really weird.
But to do that, let's take a look back at why YouTube is doing this in the first place. See, it all started in 2023 back in my home of the United Kingdom with something known as the Online Safety Act. 350 pages, by the way. But the act itself is actually kind of broad. It requires any user-to-user service, i.e. any services that allow you to create or upload content with the ability to share that content, to identify, mitigate, and manage the risks of harm which they identify as illegal activity and harmful content. This includes a bunch of stuff like encouraging self-harm, cyber flashing, sending false information, intimate image abuse, bullying, content depicting serious violence, drug use, terrorism, fraud, essay, pornography, the list goes on. And they also state that they intend to enforce all of this while still protecting freedom of expression. On paper, most of this seems like it's not the worst thing.
But the problem comes about when you ask, how are they going to do it?
Right? We don't want illegal stuff happening online, and we definitely want to make sure kids are protected when using the internet. I mean, just look at everything that's happening with Roblox right now. However, the problem really arises with exactly how this has been implemented. See, the Office of Communications, or Ofcom, is the government organization in charge of enforcing this act, and they decided the best way to do it was to require the user-to-user services that children could have access to introduce robust age verification on their website and apps by the deadline of July 25th, 2025. If they didn't, they could face fines of £18 million or 10% of their global turnover.
Which, again, the fact that you're requiring private companies to have records of government ID when you know you have like the number of data breaches in a year by private companies just seemingly just is increasing. God, who thought of that? I mean, you're just begging for your citizens' identities to be stolen at that point.
Whichever was highest, as well as the potential criminal charges for the executives. For reference, companies like Meta's global turnover last year was $164.5 billion, meaning if they were caught liable for breaking the Online Safety Act, they would be fined $16.45 billion. Naturally, this led to platforms like X, Blue Sky, Tinder, Discord, Reddit, even Spotify to introduce age verification features. But this isn't your usual "Are you over 18?" or "Enter your date of birth" checkbox either. There are a few different approaches companies have taken in order to prove that you are over 18. Some platforms like X and Telegram require you to scan your face and then an AI to verify if it thinks you're over 18, which doesn't bode well for me when I'm being asked for ID every time I go to a bar. But speaking of ID, that's the alternative. Companies like Discord, Reddit, and Spotify are requiring you to upload a copy of your government-issued ID to verify your age. And what's worse is that some of these companies aren't even the ones responsible for your data. Spotify and Discord are using third parties who specialize in data collection. Now, the government website does say that the data collected should not be stored unless absolutely necessary.
Should. Yes. Should is being the key word there. And, yeah. I foresee no possible ways where that could go wrong in the slightest.
The trouble is, absolutely necessary is vague at best, which could allow companies the wiggle room to keep it as long as they see necessary, especially when the Online Safety Act itself doesn't even mention anything about the storing of this data. It's mostly just left up to previous laws surrounding data protection, which sadly a lot of companies have figured out loopholes around. Which means if there's a massive data breach of one of these companies, suddenly it's not just your passwords or email addresses at risk, it is your government-issued ID. Just by having this data, even for a short while, it is painting a big old target on the company's backs, and that is scary. But on top of that, it means that our, and most importantly, information is being hidden from both people who naturally don't want their sensitive information to be owned by some private company, or from kids and teenagers who need that same help. UK Reddit has reportedly blocked pages like r stop smoking, r stop drinking, RSA, and even r periods. And remind me, what age group is it that start experiencing those and are maybe scared or curious and so might need to reach out for help or read up about the subject? Oh, that's right, kids and teenagers.
I swear, these government bureaucrats like this, and they're always so disconnected. Like, it is... Honestly, it's sickening. It really is.
This important information is needed by people of all ages. It isn't there to harm, it's there to help. But if you want to keep your identity yours, or you're simply considered too young, according to the UK government, sorry, you're on your own. Makes you proud to be British. And this is where YouTube finally comes in. Naturally, they don't want to be hit with all those criminal charges and fines. And so just 4 days after Ofcom's deadline, we got this announcement. Back in February, we shared that we would soon introduce technology that would distinguish between younger viewers and adults to help provide the best and most age-appropriate experiences and protections. Over the next few weeks, we will begin to roll out machine learning to a small set of users in the US to estimate their age so that teens are treated as teens and adults as adults. We will use AI to interpret a variety of signals to help determine whether a user is over or under 18. These signals include the types of videos the user is searching for, the categories of videos they have watched, or the longevity of the account. This is like the whole copper situation on steroids. Back then, for the most part, it was down to the creators to decide whether their content was not made for kids, with the idea being that if you said it was safe for kids, you'd lose your comments and your viewers wouldn't receive personalized ads. But
yeah, the whole... Again, I remember the main problem was that is like, what if you're making content not made for kids, but made like using like kid-based, not themes, but like kid adjacent topics. Like, again, I've said before, I like trains, and occasionally I like going online and seeing like the Thomas fan series or fan specials that people make. And like a good number of them, like they specifically like have like little warnings at the beginning of their episodes where it's like, oh, this is not made for kids, swear word, and then that's just, it is. it's just so stupid.
Sadly, people lie. People would say their content wasn't made for kids so that they could keep monetization, even though it was clearly made for kids. And so YouTube added automated systems to try and determine what content it thought was made for kids, which worked about as well as you'd expect. Yes, it did catch some channels and bad actors, but there were dozens and dozens caught in the crossfire. Channels that then had to request manual approval to get it changed. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And that left those channels without a large chunk of their revenue. This time though, YouTube's doing away with the creators and even the users' involvement entirely, and leaving it completely to their AI to make the decision. But the thing less people are talking about, if the AI decides if you're under 18, based partially on what you watch and changes your recommended feed as a result, that means YouTube's AI isn't just confirming a user's age. It's once again going to decide what content is made for kids. Now, they have said that it won't be quite as simple as, you're talking about Minecraft, you're a kids channel, which is a good thing, but as I've already mentioned, how many times have channels been wrongly targeted by this sort of AI labeling? Back in 2019, LGBTQ+ channels were often marked as adults-only content, despite being totally not inappropriate and actually a great resource for teens looking for a community and to understand themselves better.
Yeah, I mean, God, what was it? I think I remember hearing something that, like, oh, it was discovered that, like, the people that were responsible for, like, checking the videos to see if they were, like, adult or not were, like, in, what was it? It wasn't Pakistan. It wasn't, like, it was, like, somewhere in the Middle East. And then, like, then that was kind of, like, skewing everything because, you know, obviously people in the Middle East don't have quite the same, you know, values as people in North America. It's the whole, honestly, it's the whole thing where it's just, like, you wish you could, these huge corporations, like, they mess around with stuff, and it's not their livelihoods, or not, at least not the quote-unquote the top people's livelihoods that are at stake. It's literally everybody else.
Channels about mental health also got hit because without help, it could lead to some dark places. We've also seen it with news channels where legitimate journalism, social justice, politics, all things that are important for younger audiences to have access to in order to learn about the world, can suddenly be hidden from their recommended feeds because it is deemed inappropriate. This starts to border on censorship, which is incredibly dangerous in a world full of misinformation. And that's not even considering the false positives that can happen on the user's end. YouTube's AI partially uses your viewing habits to determine if you are under 18. But what if you like content that YouTube deems as kid-friendly? Or what if you're putting it on for one of your own kids? Take these channels, for example. Across the theory channels, our 13 to 17-year-old demographic isn't actually all that much, usually averaging about 4 to 11% depending on the video. However, what we've noticed over the last year or so is when a video performs way higher with that 13 to 17 demographic, that's not the only demographic that goes up. We also see an uptick in the 35 to 44 and the 45 to 54 demographics. Usually those are around 15 to 8% of our audience respectively, but on those videos that perform on the higher end with 13 to 17-year-olds, they jump up to 22 and 10%. Why? Well, we suspect it's parents that are using their accounts to put content on for their kids who maybe are even younger than 13. Sure.
I mean, thinking of, yeah, I mean, it can make sense. I mean, thinking about what's my current, what are the age demographics from my channel? I know they generally kind of skew very close to my own age, actually, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, so looking at it, like, 13 to 17, that's like about 8% of my viewership. Like 18 to 24, that's you know, almost 40% right there. And then 25 to 34, my bracket, that's another 30, that's almost 34% right there. And then it kind of goes down from there. So, I mean, very much. I mean, that being said, I very much doubt that there are people putting on my videos for their kids. I mean, I thank you if you are. But, like, I'm definitely not in the same boat as, like, any of the theory channels. And again, just going back to the whole thing where, it's the US that's affecting this right now, like, guess which country is the largest portion of my viewership?
Sure, their accounts are labeled as being well over 18, but this AI system is supposed to be catching those who are lying about their age, which means there's a chance these accounts also get labeled as under 18, and so lose access to information or content that they should have access to. That would also mean it's not 10% of our viewership that doesn't get recommended a video, but up to 40%. 40% of our viewers suddenly don't know we've posted a video or are getting stopped from repeat watching when all I'm trying to do is teach about the science of rivers and the symbolism of Brahms' lullaby. But it's fine because, like in the UK, there is an easy fix. Just upload a copy of your government ID, which feels strange when one of the under 18 safeguards is reminding kids not to post about or upload personal information.
Again, that's another thing. Like, for years and years, for kids, when we were kids, that was the whole thing. Don't share, real information about yourself online or stuff like that. And yet here they are wanting you to literally share, government ID with online. It's like, it is so. I don't know how else to describe it.
Saying. And as you'd expect, most people aren't super keen on doing that, which means those accounts end up locked as under 18, and so they don't get recommended the videos and repeat views halt. And that loss of views isn't hypothetical either. Check this out. This YouTube AI rollout began on August 13th, and look at what happened to Dorco on the 14th. A massive dip in views. What about Razbowski? Same thing. Or how about Bijou Mike, Super Horror Bro, Think Noodles, Fusion Z Gamer, The Game Grumps, Markiplier, Moist Critical, Rhett and Link, Joshua Weissman, Dan TDM, Smosh, Alex Myers. Even these channels and thousands more saw a dip in views the day after this went into effect, because our channels are marked as not for kids, meaning anyone, rightly or wrongly marked as under 18, wasn't served our videos. And since then, you can see the changes in the peaks and valleys, with videos maybe initially doing better on release, but then almost immediately dropping back down to similar lows, which is reflecting those long-term or repeat views drying up. Although it's not like being marked as safe for kids is going to be all that much better. Your views may not be directly affected in the same way. You're still going to be recommended to any audience, old or young, but the same may not be able to be said about your revenue. Anyone marked as under 18 is having personalized ads turned off. And while the data is hard to find, Matt did a great job at finding some during the Copper video. And he concluded that personalized ads make up between 80 to 90% of a creator's ad revenue. Go figure, advertisers pay to target an audience they specifically want to advertise to.
Thinking about what's mine, I know I know, thinking back. So yeah, let's look at this. Yeah, I'd have to say most of the ad revenue I make on this YouTube channel, yeah. Yeah, I got it. I'm gonna go with him on that. Most of the revenue I make on this channel is from, watch page ads, which I would assume are, personalized. Then there's a little bit of YouTube Premium and the occasional bit of memberships. So, yeah.
So, if they can't get that, they pay less, which means less revenue. In either case, creators are in a tough spot, because unlike with Copper, where it felt like creators were forced into this bland gray middle ground, not too edgy but not too kid-friendly either, this feels much more black and white. Either you're safe to be viewed by under 18-year-olds, or you're not.
And either way, it sucks.
And whichever way that falls, that could lead to a loss of revenue. So, as you can see, this whole thing, it's scary for both users and for creators. But the problem is, I'm not really sure what YouTube can do about it. Like I've said, this started because of a government law in the UK, and they don't really offer much in the way of alternatives for robust age verification tools. And if YouTube doesn't play ball, their senior execs could end up facing criminal charges. And
which, I mean, depending on how you look at it, that might not be a bad decision. given,
end up on the
everything
hook
they're
for those
doing.
massive fines. Back in 2024, YouTube made $50.7 billion, and so $5 billion of those dollars could be lost if they're found to not be adhering to this law. And while you might think for a company like Google, $5 billion ain't all that much, YouTube would still have $45 billion to play with. Remember, this is just one country's law. The US has reintroduced its own version back in May, the Kids Online Safety Act, and it's currently under consideration in Congress. We're also seeing something similar play out in Australia right now, as they look to ban under 16-year-olds from having social media accounts. If they follow suit with the UK's enforcement tactics, those fines start to add up, which means a bunch of people get laid off, making the platform we all rely on to get even worse, and causing things like ad revenue to shrink, because that money's got to go to filling the hole that the fines left in their wake. Is there a discussion to be had around the exact specifics on how YouTube is complying with these laws? Absolutely. AI has always been a source of problems on this platform, and we especially don't want our sensitive data being held onto by the biggest advertising company in the world that experiences cyber attacks and attempted data breaches billions of times a year. So I really hope YouTube is listening to this and that we can have a dialogue about this. But as it stands, this system doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And the truth is, I don't really know what any of us, creators or users, can really do about it. You might think a VPN is the answer. Just change your IP address to a country that doesn't require age verification. Clearly, a lot of people thought the same thing, because companies like Proton VPN saw a 1,800% increase in daily signups.
I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here and say that that's not working.
And longtime partner of the channel Nord saw a 1,000% increase in purchases on the day the UK's Online Safety Act was introduced. But that may not be a long-term solution either, because that rise in sales for VPN companies has not gone unnoticed. And so governments like that of the UK are quote unquote looking very closely at VPNs to consider future action. And I'm sure other countries looking at these laws could likely follow suit. The only thing I can suggest we do right now is exactly what we're doing. Talking about it, raising awareness, telling you guys not just about the breach of privacy you're all facing, but the knock-on effects it could have for this platform and for your favorite creators. I'm not sitting here just to tell YouTube they're wrong. They're between a rock and a hard place. And I understand the government wanting to protect kids online. But it's also important to educate everyone, including these governments, about the privacy risks to individuals and how these decisions could harm the economy as a whole. According to YouTube CEO, 3 million channels across the world are monetized. And that's not just 3 million individuals, that's businesses that have employees like editors, writers, thumbnail artists, analytics experts, HR, and now all of their futures hang in the balance.
God, I've thought about it before. I really wish I was big enough to hire, at the very least, editors or something like that. That would be beautiful. But again, I've said before, I really miss, old YouTube, where it was all small. You didn't where you didn't have companies or anything like that. It was all just, one-off people or stuff like that. I know things have to I know things, inevitably change. But why do they always have to change for the worse? Ugh.
If they all crumble, those are companies that can no longer be taxed, which means less income for those governments directly. And while there are larger companies that will probably be able to weather the storm until the AI gets itself more stable, small creators, 1- or 2-man teams, may not have the kind of margins to afford that kind of loss in views and revenue. This is literally why Matt and Steph helped to start the Creator Caucus. The internet and internet businesses are so much more nuanced than some of these laws allow for. Is there harmful stuff on the internet? Yes. But there's also a lot of stuff that can help users, and a lot of it is just good entertainment. But the lines between those on both the content being made and the people wanting to engage in those aren't black and white. And as we're seeing across the internet, AI just isn't smart enough to understand those nuances.
No,
so we're caught in the middle. Either giving up our privacy or having the content we want to watch censored. Either losing monetization through personalized ads or losing views because we talk about dead kids too much. But while this all seems very scary, we're only a month or so into all of this. It's going to develop more and more over time, and it'll only be with hindsight we can truly see what the impact was. So I'd encourage you to read more about it. Keep up to date with what's going on. Watch a Philip DeFranco video, you know, so long as YouTube hasn't marked you as under 18, I guess.
Yeah.
If that has happened to you, I've left a bunch of resources down in the description for you just in case. The other thing you can do is write to your local politician. In the US, the congressional discussion around the Kids Online Safety Act is still ongoing. It was originally shot down back in December 2024 over concerns of limiting free speech and content moderation, and those concerns are being felt by members of Congress this time around too. So, write to them. Tell them why these things concern you. In the UK, I'm aware that hope might feel lost right now. There was a petition that had over 500,000 signatures basically asking the government to repeal the act, and the government turned round with a firm no. But your local politician is supposed to represent you. So write in, tell them about your concerns. Obviously, please make sure they are well thought out and reasonable responses.
Honestly, I mean, like, I'm happy I live in Canada and that sort of stuff hasn't really happened to us yet, at least not that I'm aware of. But the more that I think about it, the more that I'm aware that I don't really keep up with Canadian politics until it breaks, like, you know, the morning news. And stuff like this usually wouldn't happen or be talked about in the morning news. So I'm realizing I may have to become more knowledgeable about my local politics than I already am.
Don't just send in rage emails. We want to get their attention, but in the right way. Tell them about how bad this can be for your privacy, about how bad this can be for online businesses and the internet at large. Ask them to listen to Matt and Steph and the Creator Caucus, who are literally trying to change the way governments look at content creator businesses. The best we can do is hope that someone listens and takes a stand for us. And finally, if there's a content creator whose videos you've been enjoying for a long time, I'd encourage you to find new ways to support them. I know it can be a bit cringy to hear the whole spiel of smash that subscribe button and hit the bell, but honestly, if YouTube is going to be filtering the recommended feeds, having notifications turned on and checking your sub boxes is going to be one of the best ways to keep up with the creators you love and help them not see these drops in views. Or if you're so inclined, there are more direct financial ways you can support them. Recently, there's been a surge of channels opening up memberships, or they have Patreons, or streaming services, or merch. Maybe like some new theoryware that's coming very soon.
And I'd like to just point out that all of this also applies to me as well, if you'd like to, you know, help.
Any and all support can be a thing that helps a channel get through the uncertainty that is this new era of YouTube. At the end of the day, we all need to be advocates, not just for our favorite creators, but also ourselves and our online privacy, which means we need to keep talking about it, exchanging information, empowering each other, both users and creators alike, with the information we need to protect ourselves online. Because together is how we can get through this and make change for the better. And that's no theory. But thank you for watching anyway. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, that wasn't depressing at all. Honestly, it feels like the last couple of years has been just one thing after another, hasn't it? Honestly, it's like... Again, I mean... You go to the US and, like... anything that happens in the US always has, you know, repercussions everywhere else. And it's like... like UK, Europe, everything's happening all at once, all so fast, and it's just, it gets to the point that it's hard to keep up. It's hard to think of things to do, hard to find out what to do. It is honestly so stressful, and I honestly hope that things do get better. And you know, if anybody watching this, like, you know, look what you can do locally, as Tom said, you know, contact your local politicians if you can, you know, do whatever is possible. Just do whatever is in your power. Hopefully things can and will get better. but yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.